Plaintiff Sharon Hansen says the defendant is her daughter, and she claims in 2009 she discovered her daughter was abusing heroin when she found a bag filled with needles in her bedroom closet. Sharon suing her daughter for stolen property. Defendant Jennifer Craigie says she started using heroin after suffering from a toothache, and she soon became a full-blown addict. Jennifer insists she's been sober for 3 months and is trying to get her life back on track.
Start with you.
Unfortunately, Jennifer is my daughter. I love her very much.
Unfortunately.
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't mean unfortunately. I'm sorry. A little nervous. I'm sorry. Jennifer is my daughter.
Maybe from time to time.
Maybe,
It's
yeah,
unfortunate.
there's a lot of times though.
Go ahead.
Jennifer is my daughter. She's very, very smart. Unfortunately, she dropped out of high school when she was about 15 years old.
And what did you do?
What did I do?
When she dropped out at 15.
Well, I tried to talk her into going back. Didn't want her to go down that route because I also dropped out of high school, and not a good thing. Around 2009.
Well, let me back up a little because parents need to know this as well. A child can't drop out of school without some consequences in the law. Truancy is against the law. They give truancy tickets. Incorrigibility is against the law. And so folks need to know they can go to the prosecutor on their child. Their child just can't do anything they want to them and they'd have to take it. It's called incorrigibility. It is against the law. And she dropped out, and then what happened?
Around 2009, Your Honor, I found out Jennifer was using heroin.
What year did she drop out?
It was about 2000.
Okay, 2000.
I did go to school, yeah. I started freshman year 98, 99, and I did go freshman year.
Okay, then 9 years later, that was your first knowledge of her being addicted to heroin?
Yes, Your Honor. I noticed no obvious signs of her using any sorts of drugs.
Was she living a productive life? Did she work?
No, Your Honor. Jennifer...
What was she doing with her time?
Hanging out with her boyfriend at the time, mostly. Jennifer would get a job, and she'd keep it for a while, and then she'd fire herself, basically. She started dating a young man that lived in the same apartment complex as we did. She spent a lot of time in her room with him. He basically moved in with us, Your Honor. They would go out and come back in and go straight to the room. And I kind of thought something was kind of fishy. And they had left one evening, and I went into Jennifer's room and started going through her room, opened the closet, and in her closet there was a book bag. I opened the book bag, and there was literally hundreds of empty baggies of heroin, needles. I was devastated. Jennifer is the oldest of 4 children.
Wow.
Went through a lot.
I couldn't imagine opening up a closet and seeing a bunch of needles and empty heroin baggies after I had no idea that my child was on heroin. I would be heartbroken. And that was in 2009, and you're still
2009.
Heartbroken. All right, young folks, if you love your mama so much, then this is not what you do to them, or you see what the effects are. A lot of them don't know that. A lot of folks don't know the effect they have on their parent because all the parent is doing is fussing at them, and that's what they think. They say, oh, he's just always like, okay, she just gets mad at me and fusses at me when she catches me with heroin or whatever, crack or meth. Oh, she's just going to get mad and fuss. No, you're going to break their heart and damage that person, your parent, probably forever. That's traumatizing, very traumatizing. All right, and so you saw that, and then you approached her, or what did you do?
I approached Jennifer and her boyfriend at the time, both, when they came back in, and I told them that if I ever caught this stuff in my house again, that they would be out of the house, and I would also call the police on them. And they swore that it was like a one-time thing, which I definitely didn't believe because, there was way too much of the stuff.
Give her some tissue, please, Dora.
Thank you. Jennifer ended up selling heroin to an undercover officer in around 2010. And then she went to prison, I believe it was about 2012, 2013, for 10 or 11 months. Got out of prison, did good for a while. ended up violating probation. Was on the top 10 most wanted out of Lake County.
All right, let me hear from you, young lady.
Hello, Your Honor. Yes, as my mother stated, in high school, I did, smoked weed, drank, nothing that I had a problem with, just partying. And she is right. It wasn't until about 2009. Unfortunately, I had, it sounds stupid, but I had a really bad toothache, and I was taking the pain meds that, I was prescribed from the dentist, and my toothache was still there. And unfortunately, I did know someone that was doing heroin. I didn't hang out with them, like on a bait or anything, but I asked them for some. And
to get rid of your toothache?
Yes. And unfortunately, slowly but surely, I did become addicted.
Oh, you took heroin for a toothache. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I became addicted.
You didn't call the doctor back and say, doctor, this isn't working. Do you have any other solutions? Or did you call him and he said, yeah, heroin?
No, no, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
And then in 2011, I did get arrested for selling to an undercover officer. I went to prison. I was there for about 10 months.
Did they order you to rehab in prison?
I was in therapeutic community in prison, which is like a rehab inside of prison, and I got my GED while I was there. I was released to community corrections, which is I was in work release. We have a work release program, and I went home on house arrest. I did good for a while, and I did violate, and I violated my probation only by failing a drug test, but they did put me on their 10 most wanted list because they go by your original charge, and my original charge was a dealing charge. So they put me on their 10 most wanted list for that, and I went back to prison for a couple months. That was in the end of 14, I got arrested. And I just finished this case last year. I ended up relapsing.
How did you get back on?
My whole life, Your Honor, I have suffered from major depression and anxiety, and I went to the doctor and I've been on meds, but then I stopped going to the doctor because I either lose my insurance, something happens to where I'm not taking medication for the depression, and I know I end up self-medicating.
When did you know that? After your first rehab stint, right?
I guess after probably
Yeah, after the first time. You sound like you should have known, because that's what the therapeutic drug counseling is for, to get to the root cause of what they believe your reason is for trying to self-medicate. And so you knew that after the first stint. And so you should also have had a plan to address that day one when you come home. It might have been, I'm going to go to NA meetings twice a week, 3 times a week, twice a day, every day. What did you do when you came out?
I did go to meetings, but
How often?
I believe I went like 3 times a week. I was on, like I said, I was in community corrections, so I went, I was, at first
Did you go back and hang out with the same people you were hanging out with?
No, not until I ended up relapsing on my own. It wasn't, because I was just.
Describe that. Where were you? What happened? What caused you to relapse, in your opinion?
I believe what happened is because I was really depressed because I was doing good. And when I was doing good, it still didn't matter. So I said, well, what does it matter? So I know that's not the thing to do, but I mean, at the time, you don't think the whole thing through.
Yeah, and I do know folks do self-medicate from many disorders, mental disorders. So that's very understandable, that being the case. But what has happened since that time?
Your Honor, Jennifer's only been clean a short amount of time, as far as I know, for the last 3 months.
These last 3 months?
These last 3 months, Your Honor, Jennifer's been to jail 3 times. I've bailed her out twice. At the beginning of this year, she actually stole my boyfriend's debit card, and he pressed charges on her. She pawned my pre-engagement ring, my birthday ring. I lost those 2 to the pawn shop. She pawned this one that I'm wearing today. Cost me a little over, I think it was like $508 to get back. I let her use my iPhone. She was going out one night, and I didn't want her to be without a phone. So I let her use it. She came back and said she lost it. Come to find out, she actually sold it to GameStop to buy some more heroin.
You still addicted?
I've been clean for 3 months, Your Honor.
The property you're suing for, is that what you just mentioned, those things?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and so do you think you should owe, and do you think you should repay? And not only this, but all of the things you've done to cost your mother.
I do not disagree that I do owe her money, and I am very sorry that I did take advantage of her while I was in my active addiction, because I do love my mother very much, and I know she loves me very much, and I take advantage of that when I'm using.
So do you think you owe for all the things you've done over the years? Do you think you should be making amends to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or do you think it's just in the past and we should move forward?
No,
Like so many of those who victimize their family to supply their drug habit and damage folks and have other people raise their children for them and just wreak havoc on someone else's lives because of their addiction. Time they get out of their addiction, that was because I was on drugs. I'm not on drugs anymore, so I don't have to replace your TV. Or yes, you do. You really can now if you're not on drugs. You can replace my television for real. I just wanted to see where your head is there. You sound good, but I don't know if you're conning me or not, or if you have the strength to continue. When's the last time you went to NA?
I don't go. I haven't went to a meeting. I do a lot of my things online for now. Because,
do what? Like what?
There's In the Rooms website, and I do Smart Recovery.
What is that?
It's not NA based. It's not like spirit. You know, it's not based on the 12 steps. It's more.
It is not. You say?
It is not based on the 12 steps. There's like 4. They're more trying to work on you. 4 things. You know, like what you need to do to maintain your sobriety, like what your triggers are, things like that. Still working on your recovery. And I would start counseling in a week or so.
All right, she sounds convincing. I know a lot of drug addicts. They're the best cons that you've ever met because their whole life, every single hour of their life during the term of their addiction involves conning, lying and conning. That dominates their life. Those are the only folks that can out-con me, I'll be very honest. Usually you can't get anything by me, but a dope fiend, I'm no match.
That's right.
I'm no match to a dope fiend. Hey, you're a recovering addict, so I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a dope fiend is the person who comes and just wants to lie to your face and act like they're not on drugs, and your hands look like boxing gloves because you've been shooting heroin in them all the time. You're talking slow as you're talking to me, but you got so much game for me, I'm buying. Well, Your Honor, I hurt my hands as I work in construction. I took 4 Advils because it kills the pain, and if 4 Advils make you sleepy, it says take 2, but the 2 doesn't kill the pain, Your Honor, so I take 4, but it's not an opioid, Your Honor, so if it's not an opioid, it really isn't causing the type of addiction that we're talking about. You know, Your Honor, I'm sure you know people that take Advil and such. Your Honor, you ever taken any Advil? You're right, you make sense. All right, Your Honor, so that's what happened to my hands, and that's why I'm nodding. All right, case dismissed. They'll get me. But I'm so glad you're exhibiting all the signs of someone in recovery, and I congratulate you, and I ask you to continue. And in fact, why don't you write us a letter later on? Give me 6 months, and then every 6 months, send me a letter letting me know how she's progressing. All right?
Your Honor.
All right. Judgment for the plaintiff. You agreed to your own.
Have a good day. I love you. Jennifer, you know I love you unconditionally, and I would do anything for you. You are my heart and my soul.
I know. I love you too, and I'm sorry for hurting you. You know I want to do good, and I'm trying.
I know.
I love you, Mom.